Nowadays, there are a bunch of indie games that follow the Silent Hill formula. You know the ones, low poly graphics, dark environments, fog, and more importantly, a third-person view. This game in particular is actually pretty unique from what I can see. And yes, the tropes I mentioned before do appear, but hear me out. The game in question is called Holstin, a psychological horror game set in the 1990s, specifically in the country of... It takes place in a little town called Jezereni Kolinia. The character we'll be following is named Thomas... God dang it, I don't like Polish name. Walanaski. You know what? Hang on. Walansky. There we go, I got it. I think. Who is looking for his friend Bartek, who is an investigative journalist who went missing in the town while investigating a shady meatpacking scam. Holstin starts off with a cutscene of Thomas in the train on his way to the town name. I'm not saying that again. It goes into further detail on what led Thomas to head to the town, namely the ominous message Bartek sent via fax, which you can really tell this is the 1990s with the fact that fax is still a common method of sending messages. But Bartek mentioned how this scam goes way deeper than the slaughterhouse, bigger than the new Trinity. Don't really know what that means, but everything sounds pretty peachy. So Bartek decides to head down to the town and see what the hell's the problem. But as the train keeps chugging along, we do learn from Thomas that the train conductors, I guess, did announce that the train will not be stopping at the station where we need to be. So that leads Thomas to actually jump out of the train via the window. Now, I'm gonna be real, I don't know how fast these trains are supposed to go. The fact that he basically got up after that is pretty incredible. But that leads to the title, which I think looks really sick, to be fair, that it goes from that cutscene to him just laying there, and that's how it starts. Keep in mind that, like, technically you can probably just let him lay there for multiple hours, I guess, and start the game, but the fact that you can just kind of wake him up right away is kind of a bit, yeah. I'm surprised he didn't break any of his legs, to be honest, but yeah. We make our way into the train station after pressing start, where we see a bunch of nasty ooze that's blocking the doors and pathways. Thomas mentioned that when he entered the station, there were a bunch of people stood around motionless, with one man with a large growth on his face, deciding, hey, that's a new guy, let's just start lunging at him and just see what he does. But that leads Thomas to go into a room that we are currently standing in. Pretty sure that's what the banging that you can hear as well probably is too, being that zombie trying to get in. Quick thing I did want to say though, at first I did think this game was a 2D pixel game, and what I meant by that was the whole Silent Hill thing where I thought the camera was just kind of like fixed or only really panned around when your character moved, but no, you can just straight up look all around you, including in first person, which I just thought that was genuinely really cool. But also another surprise to me as well, just how detailed everything is when you go into that first person mode. Now keep in mind you need to get a firearm to actually do that, but when you do, you can actually see things in like quite high detail, which is pretty insane to me. I've never really seen this type of like thing happen in any games that I played. But after checking around the place, we do hear a gunshot and we do decide to investigate it, finding our first NPC in a totally not intrusive way. But we learn her name is Anita, a scientist who, for a lack of a better word, is currently going insane.
Rozpierdolenia sobie głowy w toalecie na dworcu.
Pani ma broń? Proszę zaczekać.
Idź do bliskiego celu. A gdyby...
Proszę tego nie robić.
But she does give a handy little tool and explains what the weird ooze and growths are, as well as the zombie infected looking people are. So what it is a half alive, half not alive thing called plasmodium, and of course it's an experimental thing that kinda got out of control, mentioning that she doesn't know why it's spreading everywhere and that she's trying to get to the bottom of it herself, because she also seems very confused on why everything's just kind of the way that it is, claiming that she was the one that caused everything to happen. But Thomas does agree to help her get out of there and goes back to the original place that we started at, finding a zombie there, and of course giving us the tutorial on how to actually use the weapon system. As we dispatch that one zombie that was just kind of there, we leave the train station and immediately meet our next NPC, which we never actually learn his name, but he's this old man that acts like a child, basically. I'm going to be real, I have no idea if it's because of the plasmodium or how he was before, but yeah, he acts like a little kid. But he shows us around the area, well, the starting area that is. He shows us where to get maps, he shows us 2 NPC locations, and just tells us his relationship between the two of them. As we move around, we are introduced to these characters. The first one being Powell, the construction manager, I guess, located in the north of the map, and Gawel, another construction manager located in the south of the map. Just quick thing, I know these guys, you're supposed to pronounce them in a different way. It's just, there's a line through the L, and it says online that it's pronounced like as a W, but I don't want to be saying Powell and Gawel because it just makes me, it just sounds way too funny. Like, I can't keep a straight face, so I'm just gonna have to say it like just how it is for me, you know? So yeah, but it's so eerie how the characters act so normal compared to like just what everything is happening around them. Of course, it'll probably be explained in the full game, but I would imagine it's something to do with the plasmodium, and that probably the virus infection thing that happens with them kind of just reverts their train of thought and just make them like neglect everything that's going on around them, I guess, but I've got no idea. Our first couple of tasks involve opening the map up, breaking down walls, running around aimlessly, asking around, collecting things, crafting things, and taking out some more infected. After a little while, we do run into this big ground beef looking thing, red spaghetti. But what it does is just block some paths up ahead. And what I kind of discovered was the big yellow blob things that kind of screech at you with their little appendages. You can't do anything about them. However, the big red spaghetti ground beef things, you can actually do stuff about them. So there's these little bulbs that you need to destroy within a time frame, or otherwise they'll just kind of like grow back. But once you do that, the path will just clear up and it'll let you just kind of move more freely between places rather than just climbing over a shit ton of hurdles just to get to a specific part. I don't know, there's just some like lore thing about these things being called mother plasma, no, just here, it's on the screen, just read it. I'm not doing reading, I'm bad at reading. But after the path clears, we do meet some more characters. Fifi, the local cigarette dealer, trading cigarettes you find around the map for bullets, which I mean, it's a really weird trade because, yeah, but I guess cigarette heads need to get their nicotine hit from somewhere at any cost, I guess. Any goodwill I had toward him, though, immediately went away when he just ran away and then said something to an infected and then pitted us against each other. The dick. And we also meet another person called Matty. Like everyone else, she's practically insane, but what makes her particularly useful isn't actually her, it's the car she stood right next to. Now, from what she said, someone's broken or stolen one of the tires, and it needs repairs. Tomaz offers to fix it. In return, he asks her to drop her off at the slaughterhouse where he needs to be. She of course agrees, and our new mission is to gather things in order to repair and reservice her car. And after all that, we finally get the tire and at long last repair Maddie's car, with her eventually saying,
Jedź, tylko nie zarysuj, albo nie przebij koła.
Overall, the game is definitely one to kind of keep an eye on. I'm gonna be honest, the game kind of has a lot more questions than answers. Like, why does everyone pretend everything's normal? Why do they actively dodge questions? Like, for instance, when Anita questions the cigarette man, why does he just actively dodge answering what the day is? And like, are the zombies sentient? And like, what the hell is the new Trinity? I do think this game is creepy, but not necessarily scary in my opinion. Like, there are certain things and moments that are definitely eerie For instance, Matty refuses to leave the town, giving us the car. Also how some of the characters look in their portraits. Now, I don't know if it's a stylistic choice or anything like that, but it kind of reminds me of Papers, Please or No, I'm Not Human, where there's something off about them. Like how, for instance, just keeping on to subject, Matty, how she stares at you sometimes, like in the portrait, just, I don't know, rubs me the wrong way in a way that I can't really point out because yeah, as I said, it's not necessarily like scary, but it's definitely like creepy. The most fear I felt in this game, to be honest, was going through this tunnel thing. And well, it didn't really have a good kind of, I guess, supposed to be jump scare or whatever. Like in the game, there definitely is jump scares, like those little weird bat box things. Like those things definitely are designed to be jump scares, but like when I went through this tunnel, like there definitely was not a jump scare at the end of it. All in all, I genuinely think this game is pretty interesting. I mean, the fact that like everything's kind of explained in a way, but also there's so many other questions you want to know. I do really like the art style and everything like that. I mean, there's one area where it just goes to a top-down 2D part, which kind of reminds me of Darkwood in a way, but there isn't anything really there to harm or make you scared, so like there wasn't any real fear or anything like that. But still, it's a really cool like puzzle horror survival shoot 'em up type game, so yeah.
Bye.